Support Mentor building. We like it here, except we have a small meeting room. We're doing the best we can to work around and get us all crammed in here. Restrooms, there's 2 on the other side of this wall and 1 over there. And away we go. So, welcome. Thank you for coming. Do you have any questions for me before we begin? I'll tell you, we'll be here about 35 minutes tonight. I know it's disappointing.
Unless we have questions.
Unless you have, we might get out here at 27 if we don't have any questions. We want to go over tonight the exit interview process and make sure that you're all prepared for that and know what's coming. And so we're going to go through this and kind of explain it. And the first thing I'm going to tell you is, where are we going to have this? And the answer is here. I don't know.
This is good.
It won't work here because we usually run 3 or 4 panels at a time. And if you walk around the building, you notice that we'll have storage here, bathrooms, but everything else is office space. And it's already being filled. I do have a break room over here, but it's not suitable for what we want to do. So come with Matek. You do it over there?
Well, we don't have kids by now.
At 4:30, there you go. So that's a possibility. I was thinking about John Adams because it's only a couple of blocks, but Matek might be nice because we can show it off. So, all right, let me contact you tomorrow and see if we can get that done. The interviews are going to be about 20 minutes in length. And having said that, I want you to practice. So tonight you're getting all the questions they're going to ask you. And I encourage you, I'm not requiring it, but I encourage you to write out your answers. And if you want to bring in 3x5 cards, or you want to bring in a folder with all your answers in a sheet protector, or you have a notebook that you want to use, we don't care. This isn't an interview for a job. This is a story that you're telling about your growth as a teacher. And we are not trying to catch you doing something that you didn't do. We're trying to allow you to tell your story of teacher growth. Okay? Interviews are 20 minutes, and we know you're going to be nervous, and we do the best we can to combat that and not make you nervous. I'll tell you that preparation is the key. So practice, put a stopwatch to it, and bring the notes. If you get nervous, you may forget something, right? And so all of a sudden your interview goes from 20 minutes to 12 minutes. Or you feel like you're forgetting something, and so you fill in the blanks, and now it's 30 minutes. And we can't do that. So we have slotted 20 minutes for you, and then 10 minutes for our panel. By the way, mentors, you're the panel. We want you to sign up with Jessica and come on 2 of those days. And we'll also hopefully have an administrator on the panel with you. They're going to get 10 minutes to gossip. 10 minutes to talk about you after you leave. They're going to calibrate their scores and make sure that they're hearing and seeing the same thing. And then we're going to go on to the next interview, which is why we really can't let you go over 20 minutes, because we've got back-to-back-to-back interviews scheduled. Okay? Our experience tells us some people did go 12 minutes last year, and as a result, they didn't have enough evidence of teacher growth. They just left things out, and even we tried to prompt them to give us the answers, it just wasn't there. Okay? So I will tell you that your panel may ask you questions that are not on the script. They're clarifying questions, and they're meant to make sure they didn't hear something and they're looking for that information so they can check the box and move on. Okay? They're not gotcha questions, they're just meant to prompt you to help you provide the evidence, which we're going to talk about in a moment. We'd like you to dress up a little bit. I had one teacher say, the way you might dress up for your formal observation. Right? So you don't have to wear your prom dress, you don't have to wear a tie, but we do want you to dress up a little bit, look professional. It'll actually help you with your interview. Our results, our goal is in a couple of days. So if you interviewed on a Tuesday, by Thursday we will give you the results, but I will tell you in practice that it's difficult to do. In addition to going through your interview, we're also going to do a deep dive on your Google Classroom. To my knowledge, it's all caught up. Everything's been graded. There's some holes there, and so if you have some missing assignments or you didn't get a 1, we need you to fix that right away. We'd like it corrected really by the end of spring break. So I'll give you that much time. That gives you, what, 2 weeks? So that when we get to the interview, that's the very last thing, and there's nothing lingering after that. We'd like our second years to fill up the first slots. I think we're doing the last week of April, the last half of the third week, and all of the fourth week of April. And then the first week of May, we are not doing interviews, and then we're picking that up again the second and the third week. So first years, we'd like you to pick that third week and work backwards. ECOs in the second years, we want you to come the first week or the second week. The results are one of two things. The panel found enough evidence of teacher growth, yay! And you either are moving to year 2 or you're getting your clear credential, right? You're finishing the program. If you're finishing the program, please note, you'll probably forget I'm telling you this today, but we won't do the recommendation until June. So we won't do the direct, because I got to go through all these papers and make sure everybody's on this, and then I sit down and do all the recommendations. And I got to check things like WICA and TPAs for some of our teachers that still have that lingering, and so there's a lot of, so it won't be until June before we actually do the recommendations, okay? But the results take me about 5 days, really. There's a lag of 4 or 5 days before I can catch up and get everybody notified, and we'll notify you email. And the request that I've gotten this year is, can I include the scores? You want to know your scores. So I'll do my best to put scores in the email. But that's going to slow me down a little bit, getting all that information. Questions about what we just said? That's a lot of information in 2 minutes.
Yeah, I have a brief one. I think I have you clarified. Sorry, after promising I would. The 20 minutes, is that total? Or is that 20 minutes for the candidate and 10 minutes for the conversation afterwards? Or is it 10 and 10?
20 minutes for the candidate and 10 minutes for the conversation afterwards.
I thought I heard it 10 and 10 at one point.
Yeah, no. So 20 minutes for the interview and then 10 minutes for the panel to discuss.
Can
Yes.
you just review the dates for year 2 and year 1, please?
It's the week of April 26th, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
We actually have 19th and 20th available,
and that too.
and then the 24th through the 27th,
24 through 27.
and then the 8th through the 11th, and the 15th through the 18th.
So will those May dates be where you went, or?
Yes.
So maybe it's year 1.
But I will tell you that we are heavier on year 2 than year 1, so we may see year 2 during the 8th and the 12th. Yes,
I know the year 2 have already signed up for theirs. Is year 1 gonna get an email to say?
they should have. Did you not get one?
I did not get one.
Stop, right here, let me just, it means for some reason you don't have your email. Hold on a second.
So they're showing.
All right, there is a gap in the interview. If you notice that May 1, 2, and 3 that week is not exit interviews. We are in an accreditation cycle with the Commission on Teacher Credentialing. It's a 7-year cycle, and year 7 is a site visit. So they are sending a team of 4 people to come and review our program. And so we need a sample of our mentors, a sample of our year 2s, a sample of year 1s, a sample of even completers from the last 2 years have been invited to come and be a part of that interview. And so that's why we are not having exit interviews that week. If you are on the panel, we are going to have a orientation about that coming up, and we haven't announced the date yet, but we will call you back in. Or maybe what we do is maybe make a video and put it out. I think that might be better. And let you know what the questions are and what to expect. It's about a 20-minute interview from the team from the Commission on Teacher Credentialing. So that's my exit interview. I hope I'm not exiting. Where we are going to be looking at the program, and they're making sure that everything we said we were doing aligns with the standards that's been put out. And then they may say, hey, this is great, but you still have an area of growth over here. You might want to shore this up or whatever. So we have an accreditation visit the first week of May. Let's look at these questions. The first one's a softball question. It's an introductory question, but it also will calm our interviewees down. It's an easy question. Who are you? Where are you teaching? What your teaching assignment is? What credential you are clearing, and you're only clearing one of 3 credentials. You have a general education multiple subject, you have a general education single subject, or you're a specialist with probably a mild, moderate, or moderate and severe. Okay? Tell us what credential you're clearing, and tell us about your prior experience. So if you're, you finished your preliminary credential last year during the traditional route, you did student teaching last year, or if you've been around for a while and you're a PIP-STIP and intern, or this is your year 2 NIC, you can tell us, where you taught before. So tell us your prior experience. This interview question is not being graded or rated. Okay? It's just an introductory question. First one we're going to look at is this. What were your areas of growth and what were your areas of strength at the beginning of the year? You want to know both of those. And I will tell you that our interviewees tend to skip the part that they were good at. So start with telling us what you're good at, and then where were your areas of growth. But we want it to be based on data. The big key one that we're looking for here is the self-assessment using the continuum of teaching practice that you did. If you're a first year, you did this in August or September. If you're a second year, you touched it last April. So tell us, based on the CSTPs, what were you really strong in and what was an area of growth. And we'd like a second piece of evidence to back that up. So it could be, if you just finished your preliminary program last year, your individual development plan. If you're a second year, it could be an evaluation. It could also be your experience from NIC last year, your ILP from last year. It could also be conversations that you've had with your mentors and administrators. The key piece of evidence, though, is the self-assessment using the CSTPs. Okay? Questions about number 1? Everybody knows what the continuum looks like, that thing you highlighted, dated, put evidence codes in. Question 2, what were your goals? How many goals did you have? 2 goals. Tell us what your goals were, but more importantly, why did you decide these should be your goals? What made you decide them? So again, you can talk about the CSTP self-assessment. You could also bring in your site admin consultation where you had that triad meeting, the one with your administrator and your mentor and yourself, right? It could be from past evaluations, again, the IDP, Individual Development Plan from the university. It could also be because of student work. You're noticing your students are struggling in something and you wanted to figure out how to help them, right? So what were your learning goals and what made you decide those would be your goals? Question number 3, and this one's probably the one that's going to take the most time to answer. You wrote pathways for both goals, and I've asked you to write multiple pathways in both goals. Now I'm going to ask for the ESPN highlight, and I want you to tell me about one pathway that really made an impact on you as a teacher, that made an impact on student achievement. This is where you're going to talk about the pre-assessment and summative assessment that I asked you to do. You should be doing that summative assessment right about now, or maybe you just finished it. We also asked you to look at 3 focus students. You can bring in those, the data from the focus students. You can also look at other things that would come from your journals, the data that you've been including in your journals that shows that your students are learning at an accelerated rate because you're getting better at teaching. It could be admin feedback, your mentor observations, conversations with your mentors, all kinds of things we can include here. Does anyone have a story they can tell us tonight about a pathway that they implemented and made an impact on student achievement?
Can you repeat that, please? I'm sorry.
Does anyone have a story tonight about a pathway that they implemented that made a big impact?
I do.
Yay!
I've implemented a lot of cultural pedagogy, cultural sustaining practices. I've worked with Laura Kinos at my school, and I used it to help students grow CER. And also, our main goal was to get our NWEA scores at 40%, and we did it this year.
Yay! All right. So as you're answering that question, I want you to describe a little bit more what all that is. And I love that you talked about the 40%. Was that part of your outcome goal?
That was part of our outcome goal, the school-wide goal that we chose, but also something that me as a teacher chose.
On your ILP?
Yes. and
Perfect.
It's written on there.
So this is where you tell us where, if you met your ILP goal. Oh. Okay? Because you're looking at that pre and summative assessment, you're looking at focus students. In your outcomes on your ILP, you said that by March, 60% of my students will, right?
Yeah.
Or my class will increase by on a rubric or something of that nature, right? There was an outcome. So what we're saying is that it is teacher growth through the lens of student outcomes. Are you getting better at teaching? Yes, I can tell you I'm getting better at teaching. Look, our scores are up. We did a great job. We met our 40% mark, whatever it is that you looked at, okay? Are you a better teacher today when compared to where your teacher practice was in August? How do you know? And what evidence do you have that supports that? I want to caution you. I do not want you to start the sentence with, I think, or I believe. I want you to say, I know I'm a better teacher today because. Right? When I started my teaching practice back in the day, I gotta say, I was 10 years in the class and I was evaluated twice, I think. And we don't do that anymore. It's really regimented time. They basically, the idea was, if you're doing a great job, we don't evaluate you. That's the way it was. And I thought, okay, I wasn't called to the principal's office, I didn't get parent complaints, the kids like me, I must have had a great year. I was a better teacher. It wasn't until years later, actually, that I found out that the district office was tracking, I was teaching Casey English. It was if you don't remember, some of you might have to take that, right? You know that? I was teaching Casey English. I didn't even know the district was following my scores. Come to find out that I had some of the highest scores in the state. I didn't even know that. The average was, I can't even remember the numbers now, but it was something like 35% of retakers were passing the test, and I was like at 60%. And so was my college. When we worked as a team and had similar results. And I looked up one day, and the superintendent of LA County Unified was in my room, wondering what I was doing and how I was getting. Jim Dice was about this. He never told me any of this good stuff. I want you to be able to say, I know a better teacher today because I have data to show it. Talk again. Here is where you're going to revisit the CSTP self-assessment continuing teaching practice. Okay? So you started this morning, the interview with, my CSTP said I was strong here and I had areas of growth here. Now you can say, I reassessed in April. I'm going to put that in the assignment next month. The good news is that March is your last journal. Then next month you're doing your self-assessment. And I want you to do it in a different color. So hopefully in the fall you did it in all yellow, and now you can do it in green or whatever. And if you're a second year, then it'll be a third color. And it's going to show that growth over time. So this is where you bring back the CSTPs. self-assessment. And you can also tell us evaluations, right? You've been evaluated now for, if you're first year, your second year, this is second or third evaluation that you've gotten. Should show growth. If it doesn't, don't tell us. But it's a possibility that you could talk about that. Feedback from being observed, student work, focus students, again with the scores, the pre and the post. But tell us why you are a better teacher today than you were in August based on the evidence. Okay? Questions about that? Yes?
I just have a general question. How many pieces of evidence do you want for each?
Pretty much two. Well, I'll give you a chance to look at that rubric in just a moment.
How's that evidence split or other than sharing this with you verbally?
That's it. So the question is, you keep saying bring or talk about the evidence. And that's exactly what I want you to do, is talk about the evidence. You do not need to bring anything with you. Having said that, you are welcome to bring anything you want with you. So if you want to bring a chart, or you wanted to bring a sample of student work, what we won't have available, though, are computers and screens and projection and all of that, right? So it would have to be paper. Or if you're a music teacher and you wanted to share a piece of music off of your phone or something like that, that's up to you. Yes?
Okay, if you wanted to bring that kind of thing, how many people are on your panel? How many sets of data do you want to
We're looking
provide?
at 3 to 4.
3 to 4, so you should bring 4 sets of whatever
Right.
you want to talk about so everyone can have their own
If
copy.
you want to do that. It's an option. You will not be penalized for not. You may not receive bonus points for bringing it, but what we want it to do is, if it helps you present your story and makes sense to you, then go ahead. Okay? You don't have to bring the evidence, but you do need to cite it. Last question. We want you to leave Nick with a growth mindset. We want you to leave thinking, I am going to continue to improve my teaching practice until the day I retire. Okay? So what part of your teaching practice do you still believe needs growth? What are you planning to do to grow your teaching practice in the future? Okay? So on this question, we asked you, really, what are you good at? And we're still looking at that self-assessment. On the next question, we're asking, what do you need to grow? And here is the self-assessment again, right? So your continuum will show both the areas of strength and the areas of growth. And we want you to cite that. According to my CSP, I still think I can grow in Standard 5, particularly about accessing data to drive instruction. So I'm thinking next year I'm going to look at Standard 5.5, particularly if you're going to be a second-year NIC. This is the launching pad for writing your goals next year. But it also helps if you're leading us in NIC to think, you know what, if a professional development came up and was available for this, I'd like to look at it. I'd like to go. I'd like to continue to investigate and refine my teaching practice. So you're going to leave us with that mindset of, I'm constantly getting better. So a big one is the self-assessment, and then there's some others that we've listed up here that you can choose to add to your evidence portfolio on that last question. Okay? Questions? All right, here's my challenge to you. I'm going to give you the opportunity tonight, it's a one-time only, to go through my rubric, and if you feel like I need to edit it, if you think I need to make a change, I'll take that on tonight. I want you to look through the rubric. What we're saying is that you need an average of 2 points for these questions, a total of 10 points. You can get a 0 or a 1 if you make it up with a 3 later on, right? As long as it adds up to 10. And I will tell you that our panel rarely gives 10s. They usually give 6, 7s, and 8s, or 11, 12, and 13. It's either, it's weird how it falls. It's either you got it, or you didn't. And I will tell you there's a strong correlation between those that were diligent in getting their journals done. The interview is easy. Those of you that have not been diligent with your journals, the interview will be difficult. Take a look at that rubric and see if there's any questions or something you want me to change. It's the same one we used last year.
They took one.
It's not this slides. Oh, yeah, this is the last 45 years.
Mine is writing, this is that.
Last year I just had PCTS candidates here and I make
That's fine.
or up till
We didn't do that.
So they have a journal for April. They don't have and there's just, so they're encouraged to have their internship. And if they don't have their internship, they could possibly if they but the district is trying to eradicate that as much as possible. We work with interns as much as we can. But not always, especially in math and SPED and all those really hard subjects. Not always able to.
My entire day was like that. I started with my wrong slide. I had to redo my whole
I will try. So they journal in April, and they're there to go. And we're really focused on that IME and meeting our goal for the year. We're trying to make an intern, we're trying to whatever that goal was, making sure we meet that goal by the end of the school year.
For the first week, I kept turning left, and then I had to go back to the neighborhood. I went to go, it's like,
Yeah, that's a different,
if you go through that roundabout, that you normally go, the second one, then you take that roundabout, and you get out towards south, yes, and you hit the second roundabout, and you take the second one.
So yeah, it's like
Whatever
that. So I know it's, we got, I sat in on his couch, he was at Fresno City, and just like on the track. And over your bridge, your
Never did that. We would have did.
yeah. Fresno State, I think was national
One little bit of feedback on question number 2. The question references the ILP goals, and the rubric talks about teacher growth, and the comment was that maybe that should be part of the question over here. Thinking, what were your individual learning goals? What made you decide these were your best goals that promoted teacher growth for you? Something like that. So that will be a change that we'll make. Any other thoughts or questions? Alrighty then, thanks guys, that's all I've got for you. Please drive safe. We'll see you soon.
I like how I didn't hear that. I thought we were looking for 30. So I said it was a short start.
Yes, I mean, it's better.